And can you walk us through, because you had a complicated story too that took place over years, and you had an initial procedure and then you had further surgery. So what happened?
Right. Well, initially I had the Bladder. I remember so very little. Like things came back afterwards, but I really remembered very little from the hospital. Um, I guess I was really out of it. But when I did come to to realize what was going on, I guess it was probably 4 or 5 days later that I really knew what was going on. Um, I was ready to get out of there. Dr. Meeks knows. I'm like ready to get out. I think I really annoyed one of the PT people because he said, I have to see you walk. I have to see you go up the stairs. And I'm like, I could do anything you want. And I did it. And then I never saw him back the next day because they let me go. But I was determined. I was getting out of there. And I was very happy because I basically, my new normal was setting an alarm for every 4 hours just to remind me to go to the bathroom. And I still believe to this day that I somehow felt it that I had to go too. But that was my new normal, and that was fine. And that lasted for 3 years. And then all of a sudden, I just couldn't stop leaking, and and I thought it was normal. I was like, okay, this is okay. But then finally, I mentioned it to Dr. Me, and we found out at that point that the cancer had come back. And so what was going to happen now was to have the channel put in and have, I guess this is right, Dr. Meeks, everything was turned. So now I would path from my belly button. Mm-hmm. And that was going to be my new normal. And that was done. And I was actually, I mean, I think I adjusted really well, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It wasn't going to let me down. I was like, this is not going to stop us from doing things and living the life we want. We're retired. We have our grandkids. We want to do things. And it hasn't stopped me. It really hasn't. And I cath now every 3 hours. Mm-hmm. Something I do. I mean, everybody hears my alarm going off when the family is here, and it's like, okay, Gammy, get to the bathroom. You know, it's like a joke in our family. Not a joke, but I mean, they're very accepting of everything. Yeah, and so that was the time when I met Dr. Morgan's, was when that surgery, because Dr. Meeks recommended that I have the chemo first before the surgery. Chemo only lasted the 2 sessions, and then I got the infection and ended up in the hospital. And right after that, as soon as it was possible, that's when I had the surgery to have the channel put in. Again, I got home, I recovered, and I thought I was doing pretty well. And other than the hernia surgeries, oh no, I did have another surgery, right? Yeah. 2 years after that, I had another surgery because I was still leaking. And Dr. Meeks and Dr.
Kelb.
Thank you. Dr. Meeks and Dr. Kelb redesigned the channel, I imagine. Everything is working fine. Right. I don't get into all the terms, and Dr. Meeks knows. My husband comes along and listens to a lot of everything that's going on because I just don't get into all the medical terms. I know what's happening. I look at Dr. Meeks' little pictures when he draws those, and that's how I know what I'm doing. But I mean, when I look back at it, it wasn't an easy journey, right. But I was determined I was not going to sit on the couch day after day watching HGTV. I was getting out there. I was going to do what I had to do, and and I did it. I did it, and I'm going to keep on doing it.
Wonderful. And as for both of you, and then I want to pass, after we finish these questions, I'll pass back to Dr. Meeks. Both of you, we were fortunate to see at Northwestern, and Northwestern's a comprehensive cancer center. We have a tumor board where we talk about people like the two of you, all of the urologists, medical oncologists, radiation team, the pathologists, the radiologists who read the images. We all get together. Lots of trainees, and we talk about what we think is going on and how we think we can best move forward. And actually, these, in a fun way, there are arguments about, this is best. And we come to a consensus where we think that, we're going to do the best for the person who's trusting us with his care or her care. But, not everybody has the opportunity to go to a comprehensive cancer center because, there are only a number in the country, and they're often in cities, and obviously not everyone lives in the city. do you have any advice for folks as they are trying to navigate the real world where they don't necessarily have access? Should they think about a second opinion? Is that valuable? Would that have been valuable to you? Would that have helped you with trust or with anything else? Can you comment on that? What do you think, Darrell?
Actually, one of my family of choice recommended getting a second opinion at MD Anderson. And I said, well, I don't know how to do that, and I'm not sure if my insurance company would pay for it. And having been a long-term patient at Northwestern, I was pretty confident of all of the opinions. So I don't think it would have changed on any of the diagnoses. So I'm pretty sure that I got the best of care possible.
You don't have to say that just because you're sitting in front of us, Darrell. That's kind of you. But Anne, for you, if you were, say you were in a place where you didn't have a Dr. Meeks, because I have to say, right. Dr. Meeks it instills confidence and trust. So, and all doctors try, but not every doctor is the right fit for the right patient. And not every doctor actually has specialty and expertise in bladder cancer. So you may see a urologist who typically does non-cancer stuff. So they deal with kidney stones, they deal with, irritative voiding symptoms or leaking and urinary incontinence. There are lots of things that urologists have to take care of. Only certain urologists are really cancer doctors. So if you were outside of that system, do you think it would have been valuable for you to get a second opinion? There are just folks, I think, who have asked some questions that they don't always have access. Is it worth it for a one-time opinion to get the confidence in your team? Or Darrell's nodding, but we'll ask Anne, and we'll go back to you, Darrell.
If I wasn't living in Chicago and I didn't meet Dr. Meeks an hour after I was told I had cancer, if it was a different doctor, I really do think if I was somewhere else, I would have gotten a second opinion. And my sister's a retired nurse, and that's her first thing was like, you're getting a second opinion, right? But Dr. Meeks made me feel so comfortable. And that's why I think you really need to trust your doctor, probably no matter where he is, as long as you trust your doctor and you know his or her background and whatever. I don't think a second opinion is needed. But if you have any doubts whatsoever, I think you should. I didn't need to do that, thankfully. And I trusted my instincts, and I was obviously right, and everything worked well. But I think if I were living somewhere else, like, there was a time when we lived in New Hampshire, I don't know if I would have trusted just any doctor there. I think I would have gone to one of the big hospitals, and got a second opinion. It's just.
I mean, do you think you felt that? Because I think as a community, we try to provide a whole enrichment for you to try. And again, we've gotten better about that. We have support groups now for our patients. We have specifically even a women's bladder cancer support group, again, trying to do a better job at this.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I wish I would have had that, but I guess it's hard to say. There was something about Northwestern, which I had never been there for anything before other than to visit my daughters. But there was something about you, Dr. Meeks, and the hospital. I really felt comfortable in reading the information online, because I don't know what's on there now, but what I did read at the time was very helpful, and made me feel good about what was happening. Not good about what was happening, but made me feel that what I knew was good. And I trusted it, but I really think if I were living somewhere else other than Chicago or New York, I would have gotten a second opinion. I really do.
And I just want to emphasize to anybody listening, I'm certainly not trying to say that Northwestern is the best. I think they're great, but I think the point that I want to make, and the point that I wanted to hear from Darrell and Anne about, is that it is helpful if you live somewhere where you don't have access to people who really take care of bladder cancer all the time. If you don't know where to go, you can go on Beacon's website. You can ask the folks at Beacon. They can help you find a way to feel confident in the decision and the plan for you, because there are people who specialize in bladder cancer, and that's the group that really should help you make those final choices and to feel confident. And I'm going to pass it back to Josh for some more questions.
So I think there's some folks who are going to be looking at this that are looking, we'll talk about other treatments, because I want to talk about, you both elected to have surgery. I want to talk about other options as we, in a minute, but as you both kind of had an operation, Can you tell us, I mean, Anne, you said you woke up essentially and you were ready to go home.
Right.
But for that hospital stay, on average, I remember, Darrell, you were pretty fast at also getting out of the hospital. I think about 5 days, is about average, which puts us probably somewhere in the middle there's some folks who are a little shorter, some a little longer throughout the US. Can you tell us about that hospital time period right after surgery? What was that like for you as a patient? Was there any particular hiccups? How did you feel? What did you feel like in the hospital? And then, when you go home, that begins another part of the journey. That's probably, 6 to 8 weeks after surgery before, as you said, that you were really more like yourself. Can you just give us a little bit of an update on that? And do you remember what that was like and things that kind of stick out in your mind?
I do remember I was in a lot of pain. I remember that. I remember the button, like, and I remember everyone reassuring me that if you have the pain.
You mean the pain button?
Pain button, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just remember laying there and, well, not just laying there because I was getting up to sit in the chair and do the walks like I was told. But it was just the time that, I think I was just looking ahead. When am I going to get out of here? When am I going to get out of here?
Yeah.
Not that there was anything wrong happening. I think I was very comfortable being there. Everyone was, helpful. I looked forward every morning to having the doctors come in, the whole team.
Can I ask about pain? Because again, I think that's what a lot of the fear about surgery is sort of pain. Did you find, we really try to address that, and we've actually got some better ways since then, but did you think pain was a major issue for you?
It probably was the major issue, was the pain.
Okay.
But I think I also have a high level of pain. It was bad, but I used the pain button.
Okay.
And, getting up and walking was hard. I'll admit that was not easy.
Mm-hmm.
I'll admit I cheated a couple of times on your chart, Dr. Meeks, and checked off that I walked when I didn't.
Oh.
But I did it. I did do it. And I would get up into the chair and, go from the chair to the bed. That was probably the hardest of it. It's like just getting your body back to feeling normal, because you can't move the way you would normally move. And I'm not used to sitting still. And that the walking had to be hard, because I'm always on the go, and I did not want to walk, and I did not want to sit in a chair. And it was really, between my husband and the nurses and the doctors saying, you have to. I did it, because I had to, because I wanted to get out of there. But it wasn't the easiest. I'll admit, I'm not going to say the hospital stay the best.
Darrell, is that pretty similar to what you experienced?
Well, actually, post-recovery, I went up to a regular floor.
Yep.
So you had to influence them to send me down to the urology floor. And that kind of helped have them have the experience of all that I could go through. I had a little trouble getting out of bed the first time. And actually one of the pain meds in my abdomen kind of came out, and I wasn't feeling any pain anyway. So pain was not an issue for me.
Okay.
And even walking was, I was out walking on day one. So it was pretty uneventful for me. And even PT said at our first meeting, I could do everything that he needed to check the boxes for, so it wasn't major for me.
Great.
The biggest hiccup for me was feeling confident with changing the bag and getting it right. Okay. And that's kind of what I was looking to home health care for, and they didn't have the right resources. So I said, screw it, I'll just learn how to do it by myself and figure out how to do it right.